Here's the diff that I just removed. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the center section, put it down on the bench. I will keep the bearings with the center section piece. It's this piece that I want, not the gears. So my new gears are going to go onto this center section. And then here I have the input piece for the other housing. The other housing that came with the 3.50. So this has got a 15 thou shim in here, and the gears were set up correctly in the one that I bought. So that's why I'm going to use the housing from it. I'm going to use this input, I don't know what you call this casting for the input and the pinion. I actually had to replace the yoke here on account of newer trucks have a bigger U-joint here, so I had to replace it with an older style. So that meant I had to leave the seal out, had to tighten down the bearing until it just touched. Then I marked everything, took it apart, put the seal in, put it back together at the same spot, and then torqued it down. So hopefully I've got it all correct with the right amount of crush. It would have been a lot easier if I was still using the old yoke. Hopefully I'm okay. Okay, so this is the case that I don't need. I'll just set this down over here. The only thing is, I know which caps go where because I marked it from before. This one has one mark, this one has two marks, and the case is correct. It's just the bearing that I'm not interested in swapping around. I'm going to put a couple tie straps on there. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, we know which bearing that goes with. And we'll do the same thing here. Good. So, do I know this new gear that I bought? Do I know that it's going to fit on this center section? No, I don't. Let's see. Okay, threads are the same. They're a little longer on the ones from the, I think 1973 is what I've got. Anyway, we'll see how this works. There it goes. Okay. So now this piece I'm just going to set. What am I going to do? No, this piece I need. Yes, okay. So, move that over there. Take the crown gear and I'll put it someplace. Let's just put this someplace else. Okay, here's the crown I want. It's not brand new, but it'll be good enough for me. Now, 350, it's non-hunting, which means that it's going to hit the same gears every 3 rotations. Every 3 rotations, it's the same gear and the same tooth that match up. Whereas the 370, the 389, almost all of the other numbers that you get, eventually tooth number 1 goes into position 1 or position 44 sometime in its life. all of the spots. So I've marked, when I took it apart, I marked it so that I can get it back into the same position it came out of. Anyway, let's see if this lines up. I can definitely see a little bit of carbon buildup here. I'll just use a razor blade and scrape this off. Okay, doesn't take much to make me happy, I guess. Let's clean the bench. Now we got to find out where that fits. If it does. Well, I'm sure it does. Oh, maybe I can see it with my eyes. Let's see if I can get a couple of bolts in just to hold it. Okay, here, it's not going to fall on the bench. Anyway, I'd like to keep these bolts with the other, with the posi center section. So, I think I'm going to use the original 1963 crown bolts. Loctite. We'll just get these from coming loose. See if it works. Yep, that works okay. Loctite there. One in. Two. Three. Four. 5. 6. By the way, I'm not taking apart this carrier because I've done it before. I know inside of here are 2 new side gears, 2 new spider gears, a new pin, new shims, side shims, and spider shims. What else is new? New pin that holds it together. So it's been apart 2 or 3 times. First time I took it apart, I only replaced the spider pieces. I bought them separately, and I wasn't thinking about the side gears being worn out for the splines on the axles. I should have bought the whole kit the first time, so I kind of twice I wasted money buying spider gears and pins. So if you know anybody who needs a brand new set of spiders that I haven't even put in, and pin, I've got them sitting around. I'm sure they'll be there forever. I guess the only reason you might ever wreck a spider gear is if you're in the wintertime being an idiot and you're spinning your tire, one tire, and you crack a spider or something like that. How do I know that could happen? Well, many years ago, I had a little Valiant that I had put an engine in that was a little hefty for the 7 1/4 inch rear end. And my sister was driving it, and she went around a corner and booted it. Left a nice streak of rubber, I'm sure. And then she said there was a bang, and it suddenly didn't go anymore. Okay, it just cracked one of the spiders in half. Which I guess was fortunate because I didn't have to replace anything other than a spider gear. Okay, this looks like it's going to work. I just have to suck up all of these bolts and then torque it. Whoa, don't get too ambitious. Oh, too much air pressure. And here is the housing I am going to use. So this is mark number 2. And 2 came from this side. This one's number 1. And number 1 came from the side with the pinion. Okay, so at least I've got the bearings on the right side. Now the caps are going to stay with the other housing. Now, I'm going to rotate this to match the one that's on the floor. So every time I look at it, I'm not getting myself backwards. So I'm going to take my pen. I'm going to mark. This one is a 2, and this one is a 1. Just to make my life a little more easily understood, I guess. Okay, so now that means that all this stuff is backwards. This 2 goes over there, and this 1 goes over here. Okay. Start off by taking this bearing. I'm going to put that right about there. That's what I've got. And that one's going to go there. So that means I take this, put it over here. This one goes over here. Okay, well at least we know the bearings were the same size. That's a bonus. That goes in there. Okay, now let's not put the wrong bearing caps in. So we'll take these and put them where they belong. I have here ready to go a clean set of bearing caps. So what we've got some punch marks here. So that one's going to go there. And this one is going to go here. So the only reason I'm really being careful is that I want to keep those bearings correctly identified with the caps that will eventually go with them. So these 2 pieces go with the one identified as 2. So a few minutes ago I said this was a number 2. Now I'm going to use another zip tie. And what that means is that the bearings here will go with the track lock posi. And here we have number 1. Number 1. Here we go. It's easier to put the caps on first and then screw in the adjusters. Okay. I have no idea where this is going to be because the pinion is not in there yet, but that's okay. I just want to make sure that the threads are all right for this bearings, these bearings here. If it's more that way, that means it's more loose than it needs to be, and I'm fine with that, so there. Finger tight. 3/4. I need a 3/4. Okay, just tight. Are the adjusters movable? Yep. And yep, okay. So there we have. We hit trouble in Houston, someplace it doesn't. Why is it hitting? Somebody's hitting. So I'm obviously way too far that direction. Okay, it's in there, approximately right. Okay, I can't check my camera now to be sure that I'm lined up correctly, but here we go. So I got an axle in there. There's 50, 50, 50, 50. Okay, what was that? 70 to 80, right? There's 70, 70 to 80, that's 75. Okay, let's try that. Oh, my back can't do that. There's one. That is a wild angle, anyway. Okay. Okay, 75. Measure once, cut twice, I think they say. Let's just check, see if that's what I was aiming for. 70 to 80, and I did 75. There you go. So if it's correct, then I should be able to make, oh yeah, I can move that one. And I can move that adjuster. Okay. So the adjusters are still okay. That means they're all threaded correctly. I think I want to torque down the crown bolts right now before I put in the pinion. Oh, because I won't be able to handle the weight. 65 to 75. So let's go 40 the first time. And I did this one already. Okay, I can tell you for sure that I already tightened. I don't think I snugged any one of those up any more than it was. Okay, so they're all at 40. Oh, I may have to put the vise on the table. So we did 40. Let's do a little bit more. So that's 60 right now. 60, 60. Okay, they're all at 60. And the last one, 70. And this, I'm going to skip 2 this time. doesn't matter how many times you put the magnet on, every time the dial is upside down from where you want to be able to see it. But that's where we're going to be looking. Here we go. Yeah, within 2 thou. So we're in specs. And I'm happy. Okay, so the gears are lined up, or the teeth are lined up. So I've just put in a pinion. I put in the original 15 thou shim that was there, and that's a normal shim from the factory, 15 thou, so it's quite likely that nobody's ever replaced these gears before. Or they might have put a 14 or a 17 or whatever, or a couple of pieces in. So it's probably still the original. But at least I know that the gear is at the same depth as it was when I took it apart, I guess, is all I'm saying. Okay, lots of backlash. Ground bolts are torqued, bearing caps are torqued. The back cover is torqued, so that means that we need to set up the backlash and the case spread. Then we check the pattern to see how good it is. If it's not good, then we need to do some adjusting. The worst adjustment would be to have to remove or add shims. And that's what we do. So let's take up the backlash first. Okay, so there's like super small amount of backlash, and this is what's controlling the backlash, so it's keeping it away. So I want to make sure that guy is up against my bearing. This side is pushing the crown into the pinion gear. I would say there's nothing. No, there might be a little bit there. So that's my 0 point. So that means that this is probably where I want it to be. So the goal on the backlash is 4 thousandths, which is really tight, to 9 thousandths, which is the maximum. When I tighten one of these, it's going to push, and I tighten this one, it's going to push the crown gear this direction. Two things happen. One, I get my case spread, because you need some kind of pressure pushing those two cone bearings. And as I tighten this side, it also pushes, it spreads this hunk of cast iron so that it gets some extra clearance in the crown. It gets the backlash. So how much? 2.5 to 3 notches. So somewhere where we have to watch. Okay, so I've got this notch. Let's just put a mark so you can see it. So we'll say it's this guy, and we'll say he's right there. So that's one. Already I'm getting more backlash. So that's 2 notches. See, quite a bit more backlash. So we know we've got case spread, but we need about 2.5 minimum. So let's go another half. Okay, so if the backlash was right, my case spread is right. So I got about 6. Let's prove it. Okay, I got 7. 7,000. What did I say? 6? Okay. Not a very good measurer, I guess. Go over here someplace and measure again. Almost 9. Too wide. So that means if you move them both equal amounts, that one loose and this one tightening, you're going to move it back. You're still going to keep the case spread. So let's do that. I'm going to move it that much. That much. Okay, now we check pattern. We hope the pattern's good. Okay, let's try that. Let's see what I got for backlash. One more time. That's where it's going to stay, I think. Okay, now I don't want any of this stuff to move. So there it sits. Time to clean up and then get ready to slide everything back in again, put it back together. I need to go find my gasket. Thanks so much. Hopefully you learned a little bit about how I do it. or I've done it several times. I'm really getting tired of this, like I said. I'm really getting tired of this. I want to move on and finish off a couple of more things and then get out and start driving this thing. Catch you later in the next video.